There's been more fallout from the latest release of the files related to investigations into the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Former British minister and ex-ambassador to the US Peter Mandelson has resigned as a member of Prime Minister Keir Starmer's Labour Party after new reports of his ties with the late Epstein. Meanwhile, Norway's crown princess Mette-Marit has apologised for her, quote, embarrassing friendship with the financier. Ellen Gainsford takes a look at some of the figures implicated.
British newspapers were castigating in their criticism of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor after fresh photos of the former prince were among the latest release of documents relating to disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. In an additional revelation, a second woman came forward over the weekend, alleging Epstein sent her to the UK to have sex with Mountbatten Windsor. Following these new disclosures, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer says he believes the former prince should testify before the US Congress.
In terms of testifying, I have always said anybody who has got information should be prepared to share that information. You can't be victim-centered if you're not prepared to do that. Epstein's victims have to be the first priority.
Also implicated, the British politician and former diplomat Peter Mandelson, who has resigned from the Labour Party after banking records appear to show Epstein transferred $75,000 to accounts linked to him. Mandelson claims he has no recollection of the payments. He was fired last year from his role as British ambassador to the US over his ties to the former financier. Elon Musk's name also appeared in the documents, discussing potential visits to Epstein's Caribbean compound. The Tesla CEO has denied ever travelling to the island. And there was an apology from Norway's crown princess Mette-Marit, who called her friendship with Epstein embarrassing. Los Angeles Olympics chief Casey Wasserman expressed regret after emails revealed a flirty exchange between him and Epstein's associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. While the documents contain more than 1,000 references to Donald Trump, they hold little new information about the friendship between the US president and the convicted sex offender.
Well, for more on this story, we can bring in Brody, who's a former New York State Assistant Attorney General. Thank you very much for being with us on France 24. I want to start by asking you, what is the possibility of additional criminal charges in the wake of this latest release?
Well, that's an important question. I mean, I think the documents reveal a pattern of allegations being documented, but not being pursued. I mean, throughout the documents, we have FBI presentations listing prominent names, prosecution memos detailing specific encounters. Yet we hear, and we heard this weekend from the Justice Department, that there will be no investigations. And so I think these documents expose a real accountability gap. I mean, why were these complaints documented but not investigated? Why are these where are the complete FBI files? And why are perpetrators' names being redacted while survivors are exposed? I think a lot of this is historically on the Justice Department. But at the heart of this last chapter, unfortunately, is a Justice Department that has a total conflict of interest. Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche were Donald Trump's personal lawyers. That's why they were appointed. Since Watergate, there's been a norm in the U.S. of Department of Justice independence. But the Justice Department for the last year has been functioning as Donald Trump's private law firm. And so just on the Epstein files last year, we saw that once controversy started to brew and calls grew for Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony, Todd Blanche went to see her in prison. And then transferred her to a less restrictive federal facility. I mean, we've seen this, in Minnesota. We've seen after the killing of Renee Good, they didn't investigate the ICE officer. They investigated Renee Good. We see prosecutions against Trump's political adversaries, such as New York Attorney General Letitia James or FBI Director James Comey. So I'm not very sanguine that the Justice Department is going to investigate. But that doesn't close the book. There are a lot of other possibilities.
So what does this mean for the victims, for Epstein's victims then? Is the prospect of justice or closure getting further and further away?
Well, I don't know. I mean, clearly the great absentees from this debate are once again the victims. I mean, you see throughout the files, teenage girls, sometimes 14 or 15, who tried to alert authorities, who went to the police, who described the massages, and nobody listened. Their complaints were dismissed for years. Even the 2007 sweetheart deal in, the secret non-prosecution agreement that spared Epstein the most serious charges, they weren't even informed. But I think, there are pathways here. First of all, Congress can demand to see all of the files. Let's remember that the Justice Department said there were 6 million. We've only seen 3. 200,000 documents have been redacted. We don't, I mean, just blank. I mean, pages and pages. And so they could go to ask a judge to see if these can be released, because there's a law that says that they have to be released. Second, state prosecutors can take these cases up. I mean, in New York, where Jeffrey Epstein lived, where I was former assistant attorney general, for serious sexual crimes, including rape and predatory sexual assault against a child, there is no statute of limitations. That means prosecutors can bring charges at any time. And survivors who were under 18 at the time can now file civil lawsuits until 55. So I think for the Justice Department is saying this is the end of the story. I think what we hear from survivors, what we hear from Democrats, is that this is not the end of the story.
So what's the likelihood that lawmakers do go ahead and try to get, the entirety of those files, and what kind of time frame could they be looking at if they go ahead with that?
I think, there's a lot of rebellion in the Republican ranks over this. I mean, let's remember that Epstein occupies a mythic place in the MAGA QAnon worldview, this imagined proof of a hidden elite Democratic pedophile conspiracy, and that Trump, when he was running for president, he was portrayed as the person who would reveal the truth. He promised to make all these files public. And roughly 1/4 of Republican voters believe these QAnon adjacent narratives about this big, pedophile ring. And so it's not going to be so easy. I mean, a lot of Republicans have been leading the charge for this. I mean, the bipartisan law that required these release, Trump gave in when he saw that he was going to lose badly, and it was passed almost unanimously. So I think, people are not going to be satisfied with 200,000 redacted pages, with 3 million pages still missing. And this is not, I don't think, the end of the story here.
And the documents have also stirred new intrigue about implications of Donald Trump and Bill Clinton in all of this. But is it just simply that, implications, sensational context?
Well, we know that Donald Trump used to hang out with Epstein. I mean, he praised him publicly, saying that he likes very young women. Epstein in these files talks repeatedly about how Trump knew. They were, there's that famous birthday album, which includes a message attributed to Trump where he's writing over the private parts of a naked woman with a handwritten note. There are allegations in these files. I mean, we knew about this in 2016. There's a woman using the pseudonym Katie Johnson who filed a civil lawsuit saying that she was raped at age 13 at an Epstein residence by Donald Trump. That suit has been withdrawn. Trump denies it. The FBI at the time said they did not find it credible, and no charges were filed. But the fact is that, in all of this sex ring conspiracy, many people, only one person has ever, aside from Epstein, has been prosecuted, and that's Ghislaine Maxwell. There were a lot of other people involved. And to think that all of this happened and the U.S. Justice Department and the FBI do not have evidence against other people, I think people do not believe this, and I don't believe it.
You mentioned that there are 3 million more documents missing that haven't been released. Do we know what these might contain? Has the Department of Justice given reasons as to why some have been withheld?
They have not given any reasons. We don't know, and we don't know about the redactions, and we don't know the difference between the 6 million they said were there and the 3 million that we got. Unfortunately, today nobody believes the Justice Department. I mean, we all saw in Minnesota, the killing, for instance, of Renee Good. The Justice Department told us that what we saw was not what we saw. So the same with the killing of Alex Brody in the beginning. So it's hard to know. It's hard to take them at their word. It's hard to trust them when they say 6 million and then they only give you 3 million. We simply don't know. And unfortunately, at this point, we can't assume good faith on the part of the Justice Department.
All right, Reed Brody, thank you very much for your analysis. As a reminder, you're a former New York State Assistant Attorney General. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.